Yes, I think it's working now.
Awesome. Well, welcome
So
everybody.
Yvonne,
Mercy, do you want to introduce the chapter, investor chapter for Lauderdale?
yes, I can do that. So welcome everybody tonight. We're very excited because we have a very special guest. But I'm gonna start with the introduction of the meetup. So this is Investor, and this is a chapter of the Investor Group. It's hosted by me and Yvonne. So today's agenda, it's gonna be a quick intro of what we do as a community, a quick intro of the leaders, um, the participants, and then the intro to the speaker. Presentation and Q&A. But this time, we're not gonna have a Q&A. We're trying to make this presentation more active, so we all can ask questions to Michael. And we all can just relate the conversation to something that we're very interested in. As you can see, our mission is to empower women to live a financially free and balanced life. And we have resources through this group that you can use um, to start your real estate investor. Let me just add. Yeah, I'm sorry. So we have a few resources in the groups that you can use to start your real estate investor career. We have different meetups in different locations. We have a membership of the investor, the podcast, the book, The Only Women in the Room, the Facebook group, and then the sponsor in Investor EXP for realtors. You can follow the investor. You can follow their main chapter, their main social media through the Instagram, Facebook, and the podcast that they have. We also have one specifically for the community. So we can share our events, we can share the things that we learn, things like that. This is the leaders. This is my name. I have a picture over there. They are Mercy Cleto. I'm a Florida general contractor. So if anybody is interested on doing any renovation work and things like that, feel free to ask me questions. I'm in the WhatsApp group, and you can ask me anytime. Hi, Maya. We just have Maya. She just joined. Then we have Yvonne, which is a realtor, and she can work with you in any area in Florida. So if anybody is interested in buying a house, things like that, she's your girl. A quick disclaimer: we're not attorneys, we're not accountants or financial advisors. All information shared during the investor meetup or as a follow-up to the meeting is for educational purposes only. Always conduct your own investigations, analysis, due diligence, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions based on your financial situation. And now it's going to be Eva.
Yes, thank you very much, Mercy. So today, our guest is an economist and MBA accountant, founder of One Rental at a Time. He has a YouTube channel, a Facebook group, 2 books that I am currently reading. The last one, 15 Conversations with 15 Real Estate Millionaires. I encourage you to take a look at that. I also read the first one, which is One Rental, getting started with One Rental at a Time. Again, I encourage you to do the same. He's mentored countless individuals, some of whom I know personally, and they have achieved financial freedom using his methods. And I encourage you all to go check out the YouTube channel, which is very active, and you can get very concise information. We are in a world where there's a lot of information out there, and it is refreshing to present to you today somebody that goes straight to the point and reminds us success is only a matter of discipline. So I will let you speak to and share with Michael Zuber. Thank you for joining us, Michael.
Oh, absolutely. I'm pleasure to be here. I'm honored to speak to Investor. I fully support the mission. I was raised by a mother who was financially insecure, and I saw her make choices I would wish on no one. So if I could ever be a part of helping investors see that financial freedom for ladies is important, I will always be there. So thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. So first, Michael,
we're looking forward to have you tonight. We are very excited. Go ahead, Yvonne.
Thank you. I would like to start, Michael. I'm not sure if anybody else is aware of your channel or not. If not, today is going to be the day that your numbers are going to increase. I want you to share your journey. How is it that you got started? Because you were not interested in real estate from your book that I took. You were not interested in real estate. You were in something else. Could you please share your journey at the beginning? How was it?
Yeah, I mean, my journey, if you're Generation X, which I am, you were raised to go to school, get a good job, climb the corporate ladder, make a lot of money, retire at 65. And that was a journey we were on. I'm also old enough to start investing seriously during the dot-com era. We successfully turned, $7 grand into almost $200,000, which, when you do that, you feel kind of like Warren Buffett. And ultimately that cockiness proved painful, and ultimately lost 80% of that, which was obviously very, very, destructive and bad. From that crisis, now 30 years old, raising a daughter, Olivia and I are together, and feel like a failure. I happen to have a job that takes me all over the world, so I travel. So I find books to comfort me while I'm traveling, and I find Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad is not a how-to book. But it's a book that unlocked the future, and it showed or planted seeds. And from that one book, read many other books, and with Olivia's support and guidance, we spent a year trying to find properties near where we lived. We live in the Silicon Valley, probably a lot like Miami. It's hard to find cash flow, and it didn't work. And you'll probably hear this a lot during this discussion in my story, is Olivia's far smarter than I am. After a year, she sat me down and said, we got to try something different. Because I was stubborn, I was bullheaded, I would have just kept going, because that's what the book said. The book said, buy in your backyard. She had enough. At which point she helped me find Fresno, California, which is 2.5 hours away. She had some loose connections who had done work there. She found an agent. And sure enough, she set the groundwork for us ultimately buying our first property on Norris Drive in Fresno, California. We can talk about that story later. That story didn't start all that great, but ended up really well. But it was that support, that interest. Always, she was part of the journey the whole time. And we found, Norris Drive 2002, which, if you know the story of real estate, it gets pretty good. From 2002 to about 2006, houses are up. Fresno's up 2 years in a row, like 50%. We're sitting in 2006 with 8 houses. 2006, again, Olivia and I go to a meetup. We hear a gentleman named Bruce Norris speak, who now lives in Florida. And he basically says California is going to crash. He introduces this concept called affordability index. Olivia and I listen, we go back, we research, we figure it out. We think he's onto something. So we start executing 1031 exchanges. During 2006, we go from 8 houses to 80 apartments. And then the world blows up. Real estate in Fresno, California ultimately falls 75%. So it was being in groups like this that allowed us to get in, allowed us to support, and allowed us to get out by recognizing the top. Then obviously during the crash, we start shopping again. And something, again, Olivia supports with the whole time is, as we're buying properties, we're writing for a website called Wealth Building Pro. It doesn't exist anymore, but that's what we were doing. We were basically writing blog posts about the properties we were buying and fixing up. I think we wrote 3 or 4 of those, and then we unlocked private money by accident. We weren't looking for it. We didn't know what private money was, but we started having family friends say, hey, take my money, pay me 12%, pay me 10%. And that really accelerated our growth. We started buying properties 0 down. We started doing BRRRR. I was writing for Bigger Pockets at the time. I wrote about all the BRRRR stuff on Bigger Pockets. And, then it gets really great, because not only does it do houses, then it also goes to multifamily, right? We start buying multifamily from banks and from sellers with very little down. By the end of the crash, we're probably sitting at about 140 units from 2000, let's call it 2012 to 2018. The portfolio continues to grow. At about 2015, Olivia retires. And then 2018, I retire. So we both, Olivia's been out for a little bit over a decade. I've been out for 6 or 7 years. And all we've been doing since then is giving back. One of the things when you get financial freedom, certainly if you're not 70 or 80, is you still have a lot of energy. You still have a mission. So Olivia and I's mission is to try to help as many people as we can get started, get to 4, and, if they can, work the way to financial freedom. So we wrote a book. We have a YouTube channel. We have courses. The most active is our YouTube channel. We produce about 4 or 5 videos a day, 7 days a week. No editing, just live. We talk to 15 millionaires every week. We talk with Anna Kelly, who I believe is a part of Invest Her. We've talked to April Crosley, which is, I believe, a part of Invest Her. We talked to Casey, Brick by Brick, Beth Traverso. Lots of ladies are a part of the Millionaire Series. So again, I fully support the mission of helping women understand the importance of financial freedom, standing on their own, earning it, because I grew up in an environment where my mom had to make horrible choices. And there's certainly choices I would wish on no one. So I am here to answer any and all questions. I want you to be successful. So ask anything you want.
Part of the things that I encounter with the people that I speak is the lack of focus. There are resources out there, information to Instagram, all these things, people talking about different things, and of course appealing to how easy it is to buy 0 down or whatever that is. I would like for you to explain to the group your buy box. What does that look like? What do they need, or what's the importance of being focused in a strategy?
I'm so glad you picked that up first. A buy box to me is everything for everyone at the beginning. So what is it? A buy box is a set of criteria that is very specific, that produces a very finite amount of active listings. I suggest between 20 and 40, 20 on the minimum, 40 on the high end. Now, why a buy box? I believe most investors in the beginning are distracted. They can't assimilate all of the information that is being thrown at them. I will just talk about Olivia and I's example of Fresno, California. Fresno, California is a market that neither of us have ever lived in. We really knew no one. We had only driven through Fresno on the way to Yosemite, which is a national park. So to think that we could go and figure out Fresno, the city, which has about 1 million people, is somewhere between arrogant and ignorant, because it's too far, it's too big. So what did we do? Well, we spent about a month asking around. Where should we invest? Where should we invest? Where should we invest? Now, everybody has their own opinion. But when we took all the data in, there was one part of town that most people mentioned. It was called the Mayfair. Specifically, it was 93703. So our first criteria in our buy box in 2002 was that zip code, 93703. Next, we had to decide what kind of asset we wanted. Well, I only knew houses. So guess what? We picked houses. So no condos, no fourplexes, no apartments, no mobile homes, no land, nothing else. 93703 single family homes had over 150 listings. Too big. It doesn't hit my criteria. Okay, great. Now what we want to do is we only want 3 or 4 bedrooms. So no 2s and no 5s. Okay, great. Smaller. Still too many, probably 70 or 80 listings. At which point I said we wanted listings between 1,200 square feet, so not too small, and 2,000 square feet, not too big. Finally, with that set of criteria, we found a listing of like 35 active listings. Okay, great. Now that we have this criteria, I set it and forget it. I recommend everybody set it and forget it for at least 90 days. What does that mean? That means if it's 93703, single family home, 3 or 4 bedrooms, between 1,200 and 2,000 square feet, you see it. And if it's not, you don't see it. Most new investors want to push me. They want to go, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm smarter than everybody else. I want to have multiple buy boxes. Trust me, you're not smarter than everybody else. You're going to get distracted. You can't compare Miami with Fort Lauderdale with Tallahassee. They're different markets. They have different vibes. They have different price points, different rents, different people. So in the beginning, get hyper focused. So here's, again, how pig-headed I am. That criteria I gave you that I recommended you look at for 90 days, I looked at for 3 years. The only thing I looked at was that buy box. The only thing we bought was in that buy box for 3 years. With focus becomes understanding. And when you understand, you can learn what an average deal is. You can understand what a good or great deal is. I think a buy box is everything to a new investor, because most of you are distracted. Most of you are unfocused. Most of you are spinning your wheels and you feel like you're getting nowhere. A buy box is everything, in my opinion.
Thank you, Michael. In one of your books, you also mentioned sometimes we fall in a trap when we're starting, spending hours in listening to different videos, being distracted with the next shiny object, and we lose focus of what it is that we want. I do want everybody to hear back. We're recording this, and to hear back, what is it that you need to focus? Like Michael said, drill down all the way to the zip code. What type of property is it that you're looking for? Focus. And the other thing that people fall, I think it's a trap most of the time. There are opportunities there, but where did you find your deals? And yeah, just where did you find your deals and how did it work out so far?
I love this question also. For 15 years, we found 99% of our deals on the MLS. We found one deal on an auction website during the crash, G Street, and we found one deal directly from a bank. Other than those 2 deals, they were all from the MLS. A lot of people slip on the MLS. I got to do texting and mailers and virtual assistants. And man, I don't know how you do it. If you have a day job, if you're trying to raise a family, if you're trying to be a good husband or a good wife, I don't know how you tackle that other stuff. And then in the beginning, I got to tell you, in the beginning, it's not actually about getting a deal. It's about understanding your market. I like sports, so I unfortunately have a sports analogy for this. If you've ever played golf, it is the most unnatural thing to do. Swinging a golf club, you look like a fool the first time. However, if you practice it on a driving range and just practice it, it gets better. And then once you have a decent golf swing, you can take that golf swing to any golf course across the country. The buy box, to me, is that learning of a skill. Don't sleep on the skill. You're not going to just wake up and play golf at Pebble Beach or Bethpage Black or any of these other fancy courses in Florida. You got to do the work. I am not the get-rich-quick guy. I'm the guy that tells you it sucks the first 5 years. The first 5 years are slow. The cash flows are drip. You make your mistakes. You feel like you're going nowhere. But trust me, in a decade, you will look back and just be impressed with what you have accomplished.
Thank you. The reason I'm sharing all of this, and the main reason I wanted to interview Michael, was because we're, as women and men too, we're busy out here. We have families, we have our jobs. Most of us still have a W-2. And something that Michael talks a lot about is you don't have to leave or be in a hurry to leave your W-2. You can take advantage of that. So I want you, Michael. I don't want them to hear it from me because I talk a lot. I want them to hear it from you. How do we get to 10 or how do we get to 4 while having a job?
I think there's just this stuff going out in the world where you're supposed to say, I hate my job. If you say you like your job or whatever it is, you're kind of looked at like you're weird. I want you to realize if you're trying to get to a better financial future, there is no better way than having a job. You get the best interest rates. It's dependable income. There's generally an exchange of a set number of hours for a set number of money. And I want people to realize, Olivia and I, we both had full-time jobs. We both put in 60 hours a week. We both were raising kids. And we're so old that we started doing this before smartphones, right? We would have to get on dial-up to look at the internet on our PCs. So again, if you set the criteria, you set a buy box, you have agents sending your listings, you don't rush the process. You're like, hey, I'm going to learn my market. I'm going to learn average. That's going to take 3 to 6 months. Then I'm going to understand how to write disrespectful offers on properties that are listed 30 days or more. You can get there. If you do one property every year, or shoot, one property every 2 years, in a decade, you'll be so much further along. Please do not believe the BS out there about you got to quit your job, you got to go all in, you got to burn the boats. That is horrible advice, in my opinion. Your W-2, your job, is the key to your financial freedom, not a prison. Your job is not a prison. It's the key to financial future, in my opinion.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? I do not want to hog the entire time. But because if not, I do have more questions. Let's see. Mercy, do you have
a question?
Go ahead.
Sorry. So I own a property that I bought for myself, and then I was like, well, this is too big for me, and I rented out, and now I'm like renting in a place myself. But if I want to do this as I want to buy more, and I was thinking of like duplex, and like, how can I do this as a eventually business? I have a really good job that pays really well, so I have all of that. I have money saved, but how do you actually start like to do this as a business? How much money do you need to have saved? It's just like, I guess, like overwhelming to think this as a business, you know, when I did this originally with like very little down payment because it was my own home.
Yeah. What I would do, again, I don't know your situation, all of that, but just general advice, I would say don't sleep on what's called today house hacking. Again, I don't know what the market of Florida is like, so this could be completely terrible advice, but I would be looking for
relevant.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I would look for something between a duplex and a fourplex. If at all possible, I would look for multiple dwellings on one plot of land, like a house in the front and a house in the back. That would qualify for owner financing, qualify 3.5%, 5% down. It qualifies conventional lending. If I had a magic wand and I could give each of you something and it fits your point in life, I would have you house hack 4 properties in the next decade.
So you can do that even if you already own a property?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. You talk to your lender, but yeah.
And not put like 20% down.
No, if you're like, let's say you find a fourplex,
Yes.
your lender is going to probably have you write a letter of explanation about the first house, which you just tell the truth. Hey, I bought the house. It was too big for me, blah, blah, blah. Thus, I'm going to buy a fourplex. And you'll get conventional lending, owner-occ financing. Absolutely. The worst thing you have to do is write a letter of explanation. Not a big deal.
Okay. And that's to a new lender. That's not obviously to my current lender.
It could be to your current lender because these are just conventional loans. Freddie or Fannie is going to buy them eventually.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it could be any though. It could be any lender. Like
it could be any lender.
Yeah.
4 units and less. Has to be residential.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you.
I went actually, I want to add something. I went actually through that process because I had a duplex. That was my first rental that I bought. I bought a duplex. We were house hacking. But then the unit that I was living in was too small for us because our family was becoming bigger. I had my mom living with us during that time. So what I did was I wrote a letter to my lender, and the new lender used the lender so I can buy conventional. And then the new house we bought it with 5% now. So that's what I'm doing. I'm following your your advice of house hacking every time I can.
Yeah, I mean, if you could house hack every 2 years for a decade, you get to the end of 10 years. You have a great real estate portfolio. You have 30-year fixed rate debt. You have tenants paying off your mortgage. Inflation is a feature, not a bug. You are in amazing shape. And Frank, if you were a single mom and you were raising a child or two, I would tell you to do everything you can to house hack. Live for free, take your largest expense, X taxes, have your tenants pay for it, and then move every 2 years. It's going to be uncomfortable. Moving's not fun. I get it. But you're trying to build financial freedom. And that's a heck of a way to get there in a decade.
I have a question, Michael, and I thank you for sharing. Didn't read your book, so it might be in there, but I didn't leave my W-2 job because blah, 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 but I'm not in one anymore. And obviously the flip side of that now is being your own boss. I was trying to escalate. So I guess my recommendation is I own one and I'm sitting at just shy of a year, but I'd like to own 4 more within the next year. So I think it's a little aggressive, but I think the neighborhood, whatever, I'm not going to judge my own story. But what's available to me was the DSCR loan. Correct. So I guess my question is, I'm in one house. What would your be recommendation? Do I sit in it for 2 and then utilize it to get another one, or what's your thoughts?
So again, being self-employed is a little tougher, especially until you get to the 2-year mark, right? When you get to the 2-year mark, you can get conventional financing again. Okay. Until then, DSCR is your only option. Other than, let's not sleep on seller financing. Yep. Right, seller financing is something you can get a part of. You know, people talk about seller financing like they're everywhere. Yeah, I'm not that guy. Yep. Right, of 100 listings, there might be 5 that could even say yes to seller financing. Right, the other 95 don't have the equity or don't have the this or that. Okay. But they are out there. Olivia and I have done, I don't know, a dozen seller finance deals. So I want you to know they're possible. So don't sleep on that. But yeah, if you're self-employed, you got to get to the 2-year mark to get conventional. Otherwise, DSCR. DSCR loans today, I just talked to, I talked to Convoy Home Loans. You got to get, you have to have 20% down minimum to get a DSCR loan. Yep. At that point, because it's a DSCR loan, you don't even have to live there for a year because it's a DSCR loan. Right. Okay. But it's just a question how fast you can save the next one. Yeah.
Okay. And then you've seen DSR loans at 20%, because I know they quoted me at 30, but I figured it was a negotiation point.
Well, every lender is different. I talked to 3 different lenders on my channel. Convoy Home Loans happens to be on Thursdays, which is today. They just announced a 20% DSCR loan program. I think that video comes out Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Oh. But I know they do it. I suspect others do, but I know they do it.
Okay. And the wonderful thing. Oh, go ahead. Is there a limit on how many DSCR loans? No, I can just keep going. Cool.
Okay. Some of the things that Michael shares in his channel, that he's very active, like I mentioned. He does share a lot of resources. There are mortgage brokers that are licensed statewide. That's the reason why I'm telling. And when I announced that we were bringing Michael in, I put his channel and his YouTube, his social media out there. You can call Convoy, I forget, Michael. Convoy offers 40-year mortgages, right? Convoy home loan?
Yeah, home loans. Yeah, Convoy Home Loans. They're the 2nd largest originator in the country. They got that award. They were 6th last year. They were 6 2 years ago, 2nd last year. So they're no joke.
Yes. So when things are coming out fresh in the market, you can hear it from one rental at a time. At least that's where I hear it from. I heard the 40-year mortgages from his channel. So do look into the channel. Han has a question too.
Please.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I'm driving, but I can talk. Thank you for sharing your story. I have a question. First of all, I'm a mortgage broker owner. So to back it back to what you just mentioned with who was talking, I don't see it the screen, but for the DSCR loan, there's a lender out there can do 15%. At least I have 3. But the deal have to be good. The deal have to be good. The DSCR have to be 1.2, and your credit score have to be 7 up. I have currently we work with 100 of nationwide lender. Nice. So that's why we have more solution, more product to meet the needs. As long as you have good deal, So that's one thing. And the questions I want to ask you that. Since the time, like, what actually trigger you to when you just do a few deals and turn it into multifamily, like big jump.
Stuff. Yeah. Good question. So again, I got to give credit to the better half, Olivia. She took us to an event led by a gentleman named Bruce Norris, who at the time was Southern California. He's now in Florida. But he produced a report called California Crash. I thought it was crazy because at the time, California was just, going up. right? Real estate only goes up. It's crazy. It's party time. And Bruce Norris produced a report, California Crash. Olivia paid for us to go to that event. I think it was paid. I'm sure it was paid. We get the report. We listen to it. We do the research. Then we research Fresno, and we find out that Fresno affordability is a record low. For example, these numbers will be off, but they'll be close. Historically speaking, the affordability index in Fresno is about 50, which means 1 out of 2 people can afford to buy the average home. When it gets hot, it goes to 30, which means 1 out of 3 people can buy a home. In 2006, it got as low as 11, which roughly means 1 out of every 10 people could buy a home. It was that realization that A, Bruce was right, and B, we were going to be in trouble. So we sold every single house at the top of the market. And we didn't want to pay taxes. Plus, we still wanted to grow. So we learned about a 1031 exchange, and we moved into apartments, which was a genius move. We went from 8 houses to 80 units in about 11 months. And then, of course, the world explodes. That first property I talked about, Norris Drive, the peak of value was $300,000. It traded after the crash at $75,000. Crazy. So thankfully, because of Olivia, we got out. We sold at the peak. We were sitting in multifamily, and we were doing just fine. So in the short answer is why? Because it was unaffordable. And we also saw the lending. I mean, if anybody was around back then, there was this loan called, what was it called? It was basically neg-am, negative amortization, where basically you weren't even paying the interest. It was going on the back of the loan. And in 2006, roughly 12 or 13% of loan originations were neg-am. And greater than 50% of loans were adjustable rate mortgages. And all of that blew up in 2008, and the crash was on. And by 2010, it was a bloodbath. So in short, we saw the bad financing, and you know, we learned about affordability. So that's why we sold.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. If you can you like recommend us at least 1 or 2 name of a commercial lender or broker that you I mean for any deal, maybe like 30 unit up, if we don't need to do syndication?
Yeah, the lender that I use is Velocity Mortgage. Again, somebody who's on my channel, somebody I've done with. A lot of commercial loans, if you guys don't know, they're variable, right? They're 5-year, 7-year, 10-year, some 3. Velocity Mortgage has a lending product on commercial that's 30-year fixed. So I like 30-year fixed. I hate 5-year terms, 10-year terms. So when in doubt, when possible, I go to Velocity. It's a little bit higher interest rate, but it's 30-year fixed. And if rates get significantly better, I just refi out. But I like 30-year money when in doubt.
Thank you. I think that I used to work with Philosophy before. Yes,
yeah, you can.
So they're a little bit higher than the other, but it seems like they specialize in only commercial.
Yeah, they do 30-year fixed. Yeah, most commercials don't, and that's what I like. I like knowing my payment. One of the worst days we had was when the seller financing balloon came due and we didn't have the money. That was a rough day, but thankfully the seller agreed to extend another 5 years, and it was okay. But yeah, those balloon payments can be rough.
Yeah, Maya has a question.
Sounds good.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So is the DSCR loan the same as bank statement loan?
No, DSCR stands for debt service coverage ratio. Basically, it says, you know, the running of the building, the expenses or the leftover after all expenses will pay the mortgage payment. A debt service of 1 means the leftover equals the payment. 1.2 means the leftover is 1.2 times the debt payment. That's what that is. A bank statement loan is like an asset loan. It's basically looking at your bank statements for incoming and outgoing expenses and revenue. So it's still a DSCR loan, but It's a little bit different.
In your experience, which one would be better?
I think DSCR loans are far more, they're cheaper, first of all. They're far more less intrusive because it's just about the building. A bank statement loan can be intrusive, right? Because they're getting in, they're basically checking every line of your bank statement, figuring out what's income, what's expenses, and all of that. But some people don't have the option, right? They run a business and they depreciate everything, so their tax returns look terrible to a lender. When in doubt, do conventional. If you can't do conventional, do a DSCR. If you can't do DSCR, do bank statement.
Thank you.
Of course.
If you were to start over, Michael, again, what would you change from everything that you did?
Ooh, I would, of course, run this by Olivia first, but I think something that we would probably do if we had to do it again is we would probably look for and probably only focus on B-class properties. When we were going, in the beginning, we were fine. Everything was B-class. But when we got in the crash, we kind of bought everything we could. And some of those properties were definitely C-class. Some of those we've sold since because they were just pain in the ass. I think if we had to do it again, we would probably look for B-class, when in doubt, newer. And I don't know that we'd go as big as we did. I think we might 1031 to, nicer new builds or something like that. There's something to be said for having 10, 15, 20 single family homes. People never move. There's less problems. The problem about owning multifamily is you're freaking a consultant half the time. You're just a counselor between people that don't like each other. So it's such a headache. Thankfully we have property managers, but yeah, if I could wave a magic wand and have 30 B-class, 2,000 and newer single family homes, I would make that trade probably.
Share with us the freedom number, that concept of having a freedom number.
Oh, that's everything. I would tell everybody to go back over the last 90 days of expenses and figure out how much it costs to live your life. Seriously, how much does it cost? Is it $3,700? Is it $4,800? Is it $1,900? What is it? Then I would look at your expenses and ask yourself, what is a need versus a want? What's a need versus a want? And I would look at removing some of those wants. And then let's just say you get to $2,000 or $2,500 or $4,000, some round number. That's your freedom number. If you can get your real estate in this case to spit off that number or more, you are now free. Now, I don't suggest anybody quits. Like let's say your freedom number is $4,000 and you get to $4,001. I don't suggest you quit when you're at $4,001, but maybe it's 50% more than that, 25%. You got to get a cushion because you want to enjoy life. You don't want to just do the minimum. Who wants to do all this work to live a minimum life? Let's prove it works. Let's get to it. Let's start covering different parts of it and, get that extra 50% and then enjoy life. And then here's the last thing about the freedom number. There's a guy I work with, or the guy that's on my channel is named Dion. His freedom number was $4,000. There's another guy on my channel named Matt. His freedom number was $15,000. Guess what? It is a lot easier to get to $4,000 than $15,000. It's just math. It takes so much more time. So if you have a low freedom number, you can be done quickly. Like I talk to high school seniors sometimes, and I always ask them, can you live on $2,000 a month? Now they're high school seniors, so they have no idea what they're talking about, but they always say yes. And what I tell them is great. By the time you're 25, you could be financially free if you can keep living on $2,000 a month. So I suggest everybody figure out their freedom number. I think it's embarrassing. If I asked you, what does it cost to live your life and you don't know, that's embarrassing to me, right? Because you've got to know. You're trying to build something here. So figure out your freedom number.
Thank you. I'm checking to see if anybody else has a question. Part of our group's mission is to promote a balanced life. Something that happens often here in Florida. I move between counties, so there's Miami-Dade County, Broward County, Palm Beach, everybody, we all have something, which is we want to do everything ourselves. Did you do that in your journey? Were you the property manager? Were you the person doing everything or doing repairs in the properties?
Yeah. So one of the things that we got right, but it was only by requirement, is we had a property manager since day one. We ended up finding a market that was 2.5 hours away. I would likely be in different states or different countries during the week for my job, so I couldn't be there. Olivia had a crazy demanding job and was basically raising our daughter by herself. So we didn't have any time to do any of that. So we paid property management to be the face to the client and to do that work. We also had very clear lines of responsibility, which I think is huge. My job was to scour the MLS and find deals. My job, given I had the high variable pay because I was commission based, was to sell as much as I could so that commission could become assets. Olivia, again, besides doing the most important job of raising our daughter, she was doing the books. She was looking for mistakes and fraud. And she was doing, frankly, Olivia was doing the hard work. And it was that clear line of responsibility that made it work. And very lucky for that. And then the last thing I remember doing a lot is, for us, we had a Friday night family sushi, right? That was our treat once a week, was to go out and we would talk about real estate and catch up and all of that. So yeah, we couldn't do that. But that said, to your point, one thing I've admitted is a mistake. The first 5 years, I tried to do everything myself with a computer. That's a mistake. Real estate is a people business. Get out, network. I now challenge people to meet 2 new people a week. Like if you meet 2 new people a week in Miami, in a year, you will know 100 new people. The other thing I recommend is you tell all 100 people what your buy box is. The reason that is important, we talked earlier, I think it was Aviva, about seller financing. The best way to find seller financing that we have found is not the MLS. It's word of mouth and network. So if you start telling people you're looking for seller financing and you do it for a long enough period of time, eventually you'll get an opportunity. So again, don't be shy, get uncomfortable, tell everybody your buy box, meet 2 new people a week. Real estate's a people business. And never stop. Just never stop. Never stop growing.
One of the recommendations that you always say in your channel is doing the work every day. So I'm in the business, so I'm obligated, I would say, and I enjoy it, to be looking at the buy boxes of different people and my own. So part of that, how can I say, I haven't achieved balance. I can't say that. I take my daughter to everything. She goes with me and rehab some of the properties. She does the minor part, of course. But nonetheless, we're together in this.
Nice.
But another thing that I like, I lost my train of thought on that one, but another thing that I like about what you're doing is you have achieved what you've wanted. You opened this channel. Conversing with other people, selling different, here in Miami, everybody's a guru, right? Everybody's selling a course and everybody's out there. Everybody's, we're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars, such amount that you can use for a down payment and get another property. Yeah. By the time I find, and they talk to me, I say, just look at this channel, give it a shot and look at your course. So it's, I would say it's simple to get started. It's the issue is to remain focused on what is it that you want. Yeah. So everybody here, and if you have a question, please interrupt me because this is based on conversations. Yes.
So here's the deal. I have these 7 rules. I call them the 7 ORAT rules. I'll just go through them quickly. And these are the 7 things that helped Olivia and I become multimillionaires, replace 2 6-figure incomes, have an amazing life, yada, yada, yada. Number 1, focus. Establish a buy box. Again, a buy box is everything. Get focused. And again, never forget, a buy box is permission to look and permission to ignore. Number 2, daily discipline. I'm only asking for 20 minutes a day. You have no excuses for not giving me 20 minutes a day. Number 3, grow your network. Meet 2 new people a week. Again, tell everybody your buy box. Number 4, This is not about buying a deal. What I teach, what I talk about, this buy box, the daily, it's not about buying a deal. It's about learning average. Once you know average, you can do great deals. If you don't know average, you're gambling. Stop gambling. Number 5, bad things will happen. Sorry, learn and move on. Number 6, it's a 5 to 10 year commitment. This is not get rich quick. This is not get rich tomorrow, but it is get rich for sure. Number 7, audit your network. Now, audit your network really has grown to mean your social media as well. If you have a social media feed that you look at for 20 minutes and you are jealous, fearful, envious, any of these things, that's on you. Block those people. You all need to learn where the block button is, because my social media feed is awesome. It's all happy. It's all dogs and puppies and people doing things. None of these fear tactics and doomers and crash bros. Please audit your network, both physically people, but also your social media. So those rules, you know, are free. Here, they're $0. Go nuts.
Yeah. Michael, what's your take on leveraging your one property for the other, or do you keep them independent?
So I have so during our journey, I think you're either in growth mode or stabilization mode. Okay. So when you were in growth mode, we leveraged everything we could for 15 years, maybe 12 years. Let's say 12 years. So we did cash out refis, we did seconds, we did all that. One thing I will say, and if you ever read the book, you'll read about our first mistake. I do believe every property should stand alone. So what does that mean? So at the time, Norris Drive was our first property, and we did a cash out refi. And the bank said, how much do you want? And I, of course, not knowing what the hell is going on, said, how much can I get? And they gave me a number, and I said, I'll take it. Unfortunately, the idiot that I was at the time, probably still am, I didn't realize that my mortgage payment was actually going to be higher than rent, which means I've created an alligator. It's the only picture in my first book. Never buy or create an alligator. I never want a property, even after debt extraction, to be negative cash flow on its own. I do not believe in going, oh, look, I robbed Peter, but when Paul pays, they're okay. That's nonsense. I do think even after an equity extraction that a property should support itself. But if you can, go for it. If you're in growth mode, shoot, that's what we did.
So we have about...
I forget who asked that question.
We have a few minutes left. I want, if nobody else has, please interrupt if you have a question. I want to ask, let's see. Go ahead, Shrika.
So what about like bankruptcy and like foreclosures and pre-foreclosures? Does it really matter, or just find what's a normal deal and then get the better deal?
I believe all new investors need to figure out average.
Okay.
I think too many people get distracted with the vehicle and you go nowhere. So again, until you know what the average deal is in your buy box, it doesn't matter where it comes from, right? But once you know average, and then you could go, ooh, look, I found a pre-foreclosure, or I found a wholesaler, or I found a mailer that gives me a great deal. Great. But don't put the cart before the horse. I think there's a lot of people selling sub-2s and this and that and the other thing. It doesn't matter. Until you know what a good deal is, it doesn't matter.
That does make sense. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Let's see.
Yeah, I actually have a question. Going back to the buy box, right? Because we're open to a lot of resources, a lot of people that have different ways of buying real estate and things like that. And sometimes the deal that we analyze, maybe it's the way we just analyzing the deal, that the deal doesn't work or doesn't meet the 1% rule or things like that. So what can you say that we can, because we need to focus on buying something that meets the average for the market. So what do you think that it should be like, besides having a cash flow, what do you think is cool for the property that we have to
Yeah.
It's a criteria that it meets. I mean, we have to go for it if it doesn't meet the next criteria. So what can you tell us about
So
that?
let me be very clear. I've said average a dozen times on this call. I never want any of you to do average. I want you to understand average. So let me give you some numbers. In 2002, the average yield in my buy box in Fresno, California was 8%. I don't know about you, Mercy, but I have no interest in being average. So what I wanted was a great deal. So if average is 8%, I want to do an 11% or better. So please don't do average. Anybody on the planet can do average. If you're following what I talk about and I teach, please understand average and then do great deal. So that's the first thing I want to make sure if I was unclear. The second thing is once you have a buy box, you have all the power because you can tell the wholesalers, you can tell the agents, you can tell everybody in your meetup, hi, I am Mercy and I buy 4-bedroom homes, 2 baths, 1 story in this zip code. You have all the power. If you're sitting back and you're like a lot of new investors like, oh, I got the money, I'm just waiting for the deal, you're going to get taken advantage of. No, you do your homework, you know what average is, and then only do great deals. You have to realize that a buy box is not a penalty. It's a reward because you only know one thing. Again, remember Fresno, California, 2.5 hours away, one way, never lived there, didn't know anyone. Within 90 days, I knew that zip code better than anybody else on the planet. So if that swam across my, buy box, I could strike in seconds. I didn't have to wait. Also, it meant I ignored everything else. I didn't get distracted. Oh, look at this duplex or look at this, ADU add-on or whatever it is. I didn't get distracted. I was so focused.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
Anybody else with questions? So now I'm going to ask you for somebody else? See?
This is Han.
Yes,
Yeah,
Han.
before I leave the call, so I want to have the last question for Mike is the question is, what would be next step? I know that you mentioned earlier that you retire, but if you can give a recommendations, I think that all of your property is actually in California, Fresno, California, right?
Most of it's in Central California, correct? Yep.
Yes. So based on your experience and also like your network with the other investor, probably nationwide. So which markets or which recommendation that you can give us for the next one? If we decided beside Florida, we want to invest far away.
Yeah, I there's a lot of people that do out-of-state investing. And let me just say this first. You have to learn the skill first. There is no magic market. There is no best market. There is no great market. There is only what is good for you. So the first thing I would tell you is back to the early part of the discussion. You have to learn the skill. And forgive me, I only know sports. You have to learn your golf swing. You have to learn the process of learning a market. You can't skip that. You can't cut the line. I've seen plenty of people go broke buying in Detroit or Cleveland or Memphis because they bought cheap. They bought the 2% rule. They did whatever. They just didn't learn the skill. So until you learn the skill, and it's easiest to learn the skill in your backyard, my answer is, frankly, shut up, learn the skill, frankly. After that, when you think about out of state, I have this rule of thumb. The most important thing, I know Bigger Pockets talks about the core 4. I think the core 4 are nonsense until you have the 5th. And that is boots on the ground that you trust. I'm not talking about boots on the ground that you pay. I'm talking about boots on the ground that you trust. Like, this is my rule of thumb. Do you know someone in that city that's going to show up at your funeral? If the answer is yes, a college roommate, a cousin, an aunt, an uncle, that might be a good market for you. But if you know no one, I don't think going out of state's a great answer for most people.
Thank you, 100%. Put on the ground. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. All right. So for the last question, looking into the future, seeing the interest rates, how they are, and for the people that have not started yet, what is your recommendation? Interest rates, let's say they're at about 7%, 6-7% coming from a 3.99, 2 point something. What do you recommend moving forward, or what do you see?
I would tell them, if you're starting today, congratulations. You know, the last 3 years have been wild. Thankfully, we've got 20 years of experience, so it was all stuff we'd seen before. But if you got started in the last 3 years, I feel for you, because it's been one of the craziest markets I've ever seen. But if you're just starting today, I've got good news for you. The housing market is slowing down. Inventory is building. I believe you make your money when you buy. I believe the easiest way to make money when you buy is to find a motivated seller. I believe for the last 3 years, motivated sellers, you couldn't find them. They were just hiding because everybody had cash. So today I hear about Florida. I mean, you guys are in it, so you probably see it a lot closer. Inventory is growing. Days on market is growing. Price drops are growing. Guess what? Time to sharpen your pencil. Time to write disrespectful offers. Time to get comfortable with sellers calling you names. Who cares? You only need one. What I would tell a new investor is you only need one. Don't pay list price. I would only shop days on market greater than 30. I would get very comfortable writing disrespectful offers that made sense for me today at 8% rates. And, you know, writing 20 offers, 30 offers, not a problem. I mean, in 2021, Olivia and I wrote 100 offers and got nothing. So, you know, 20, 30 offers in a slower market. At the end of the day, I want to find motivated sellers. In a market with growing inventory, growing days on market, it is so much easier to find motivated sellers. So I would go ham. I'm more excited for the next 2 years than the last 2 years.
Yes. Han, did you have another question?
No, I'm sorry. I just like I just second what Mike said. Whatever it work for us. Yeah. Doesn't matter what way it is.
Okay. Well, does anybody have any other questions, comments, feedback? Okay.
I just want to say thank you. This was really great.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you for the time. I think you just summarized everything in 1 hour. It was great to learn from you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Looking forward to more communications like this. And Dion and Matt are going to be next. The
awesome.
three
go
amigos.
Get them. Go get them.
Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. See you soon.
Later.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.